Facebook. And then we'll hit record. Okay, awesome. So technology. So we are streaming on Facebook, Sunita.
Right.
So I can always upload it on LinkedIn. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Why not? Um, Again, I want to thank you for joining me. So I'm really excited about what we have going on, and I appreciate you for just being um, just agreeing when I had this idea. So what this is Events Made Simple Live, where I'll be interviewing people who have done their own events for their business. And I'd like to have these really great, um, engaging, and informal conversations to encourage others to plan their own events.
Mhm.
So this is a brand new live series. So we are live and recording, and I get to ask you all kinds of great questions. And I had a great idea to talk about retreats because it's such a growing trend. But it's such a complicated event experience. It's not for the beginner.
Mm-mm.
And when I thought about retreats, I thought about you because you have been doing them for so long. So I'm
Before it
really
was a
excited.
trend.
Right before it was a trend, before we had a pandemic. So I really
Yes.
wanted to get your insight. And I really didn't know. So I'm like a fly on the wall of this conversation because I'm gonna ask you questions that I come across from people. But before we really dive in, can you go ahead and introduce yourself and your business? Can you tell us how long you've been in business and kind of get an idea of the type of retreats and how they coincide with your business?
Okay, great. Firstly, thank you, Tiffany, for having me here. I'm excited to be here with all of you and really talk about retreats, which I'm actually very, very passionate about. I just absolutely love doing retreats. So I think we'll have a little quick Q&A at the end if you want to ask some questions, hold your questions to the end. So I started my business when I was actually living in Singapore. I was in the US and then I was based in Singapore for about 7 years. So I started my business, which is the Raw Food Center in 2010. And, my focus was really helping people to lead a healthy lifestyle, and it starts with food on a physical level. So very quickly after I started doing events, life takes its twists and turns. We often are at crossroads and challenges in life. And I was actually looking for a retreat center or for a place to go to just for myself, to just gather my thoughts, realign my body, mind, and spirit. And when I went to look for it, I didn't find it. I could not find anything I was looking for. I wanted a place to go where I could be nourished and nurtured, and just have the space to just be and process and reflect. And
Mhm.
since I didn't find it, and I was like, hang on, maybe if I'm looking for it, I'm sure there are many people, men and women, looking for retreats. So after I got tired for looking for it, I said, I am going to go out and create my own retreats. So that was over a decade ago. And we started doing retreats. So I'm actually a chef, a nutrition coach, and retreat leader. I'm a published author. And yeah, we've been doing retreats now for over a decade. I've got my 11th retreat that I'm going to be running. And we've done it across 6 countries. So, most people dive in with the domestic. I dive full in by doing international retreats first,
Mhm.
just because of the location I was in. And, when I started doing it, I didn't realize what all were involved when I first started doing these retreats. And then, you learn very quickly. You have to.
Right. Yeah, sounds like typical events. Okay, so let me ask you this because you just made it sound very easy. You're like, I didn't find what I was looking for, so I did it myself.
It was
Um,
not easy. It was not easy. Let me tell
oh
you.
no,
I mean,
no,
it was a process. It was not
no, no,
easy.
no. I
Yeah.
don't want to minimize that. I just
Yeah.
want to walk us back through when you had the idea and you said, I'm going
Mhm.
to do it myself. Now, did you do it right away, or did you do like most of us and ponder on it for months or years? Like, what was the time frame between I'm going to do this to getting
Mhm.
started?
I think it was about a year, maybe a little bit more.
Okay.
And it was a learning curve because I was like, I had never done it, how to do it, finding the right venue, having all the logistics in place, all the planning, marketing, and promoting. Because, it's not enough to just say, okay, I'm going to do a retreat and people are just going to show up. You have to market it and really come up with a vision of what you're trying to do. So for me, when I got an idea to do retreats, it was it was very strong. It was like my mission to do retreats. It was something that just coming back. It wasn't just like, oh, it's a nice idea, I'll do it one day. It was like my mission. It just felt like really aligned, like I needed to do it. It was, and interestingly, I put it out to the universe and I said, what is the first venue I should be doing it? And
Right.
it was in, because that's also another thing. Is like, how do you start? Which is the right venue for you? And I had this calling and affinity to Bali. I was living in Singapore and Bali was not that far away. And it just so happened one of my clients at the time had a beautiful villa in Bali.
Just so
So
happens.
it just so happened. So, you've got to really manifest, put it out
Yeah.
there, and of course, do a lot of due diligence and really see if it's the right venue for you, you know? So, yeah, it started aligning for me. And I just felt like this is where I needed to take it to the next level because, it's very different to help and coach people in their environment. Once you take them outside the environment, they really get another perspective. So we start, because I'm a chef, we start with food on a physical level, but it goes on so many different levels. And it's not just raw food. We use a lot of healing modalities. It's a very curated, a very transformational experience, because that's what I want to have people experience. Not just it's a workshop in a pretty venue. No, it's a really deeply transformational experience for them. So they come back really, they regain their zest for life. They get the clarity and they go back with, starting to really take healthy eating, make it a lifestyle, how to transform their health and really start living their best life. So it was a journey.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And what I like with your retreats, they're very targeted. I find that some people are just say, I want to plan a retreat. And
Hmm.
you're like, okay, like, are you going to specify? So, what I like about your retreats, and this is me personally, when I see you promote a retreat, it's going to be consistent with your brand. It's not going to be
Yes. In
now.
alignment. Yes.
Right, right. So it's with the wellness, with health. It's not going to be all of a sudden we're talking about accounting or something crazy.
Oh my
So,
gosh, no. I would go to
so and you said something about it was your calling, like you felt compelled to.
Yes,
Do you
yeah.
think it was just kind of just the next level, or it was
Mhm.
just the next thing in your business to do, or just was
Yes,
it a feeling?
it was also the next thing to do, because it's like you can only help transform people's health if you're coaching, but when you
Right.
are in person, like what I love doing, and I've honed it down where we collapse the timeline, so what could have taken somebody a decade to course correct a little bit, because they have a lot of time to reflect and really think about what changes. I don't tell them the changes they need to make. They come to the realization through this curated um, retreat that we have, different experiences on different days, which they go deeper. So they come to their own realization of what shifts they need to make in their life. It could be just the food, it could be the environment, could be their job, relationships, environment, so many different things that really make up health. So we really get time to do that. Yeah.
Okay. And then what's your typical time period for the retreat? Do you do it for a few days, a week, or is it the same time period for
That's
each
a great
retreat?
question. No, it's very different because initially when I started, I did smaller retreats for a few days, but it goes anywhere from now. I do retreats typically for at least a week. And then if we're going far, like to India, international retreats, my India retreat that's coming up is for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So it really depends on what I'm teaching, what I'm want them to experience, and how does the venue and the location really align with the transformation that I want them to have, you know?
Oh,
So
I'm so glad you said venue and environment because I always talk about not every venue works for every event and to be very specific when you choosing your venue. So, can you walk us through, like, even with your first retreat? So, your first retreat was in Bali. Um, how did you know, even though you did know someone who had a space, how did you know that that was going to be it? How did you know that that made sense to host your retreat there?
okay, so that's another great question. So, in order to find out that the venue really aligns with you, you got to have, firstly, you do the research. You have to do the due diligence and research, read the reviews. You go to TripAdvisor, read the reviews about the venues, and see, is this the kind of facility you want? Number one, what do they offer? And then get on a conversation, a call with the venue owner, whether it's the manager, if it's a big venue. You got to also determine, firstly, what kind of retreat are you envisioning? Are you doing it for a small group? Are you doing it for a large group? Do you want like an Airbnb? Do you want like a boutique resort? Or do you want a large, massive resort? Is it a conference? A conference is not really a retreat. So just for those listening, a lot of people think, okay, we do a conference in this beautiful, beautiful ocean front, and most of the time they're stuck in a conference room. I mean, that is not a retreat. That is, they just zoned in into this room, and it's really not a retreat. So you got to really determine what you're looking for, and then get on the phone. Or now we have Zoom. Get on the Zoom. Of course, if you can go visit the venue, if it's close enough, definitely do that. But sometimes, it's very far away, and you cannot visit. So you got to get on a Zoom with them, talk to them, have your questions, have your vision shared with them, see if it's in alignment. Does the venue provide the facilities that you're looking for? Like for me, food is a big part of my retreat. So, I want access to a kitchen space that I could use.
Mhm.
I don't make the food for the entire, we partner with the venues, but we need, like, what kind of rooms do you need, for those looking for a retreat? Do you need like a conference room? What kind of a room do you need? What kind of facilities do they offer? And is it really in alignment with where you want to be? And do you feel like you can work with the venue owner? If they're not
Yeah.
responsive, if what they're telling you doesn't really resonate, then listen to your gut and move on and find. There are tons of venues, just as many retreats are popping up. There are many retreat centers now popping up. So you can really look, and now they give you the whole specs, when you go to them. If they're not going to tell you everything, then move on to another venue because there are tons out there.
Oh my goodness, are you sure you don't work in events? Because you're literally preaching everything that I say. And what I keep hearing is alignment. So,
Yes.
and you had mentioned, the communication. So,
Mm-hmm.
along with just the logistical things, like does it have enough space? Is there enough food?
Yeah.
You want to feel like you're wanted there, right? So, did you
And they're going
feel
to
like
take care of you, and
right,
yeah,
right,
and your peeps are going to feel comfortable and
exactly.
welcomed. Or are you just a number where they're just like, okay, this is what we have and go from here,
Hmm.
You got to really gauge what you want to work with, what you're looking for. For me, I like boutique hotels, which are very customized, and they're really good with customer service. That's very big for me because I really want my people to feel very special, very welcomed, and taken care of.
Yeah. Okay. And so once you feel that that relationship's there, you're ready to move on with
Yes.
so where is your next step? So when you have a venue locked in, you feel like
Mhm.
you have a good partner, are you now
You got to get
looking
the costs
into,
also, get the contract from them. First, you do the call,
well,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're going to get the costs if it's in alignment with what you want to charge,
Budget, absolutely.
and if it's and have a contract, make sure everything is black and white in terms of when are the payments due, what are the expectations, and make sure you read everything in a contract, because sometimes some people overlook it, and then you have to understand what are the cancellation policies, when are the payments due, because they have different payments. And then you can also ask them what's good for you, because you know your timeline of when you're going to fill your retreat, or if
Hmm.
you've never done it, then I would say try not to put a huge deposit down, because then you don't want to be out of pocket. You want to allow yourself enough time to be able to market and have the funds to pay.
Well, let me ask you that too. How long do you typically have from signing the contract to filling that space?
So I like to start at least a year in advance.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, because a lot of venues are getting booked up, number one. Number two, you need time to design a retreat really targeted to people who you want, who this retreat for. Because retreats are great, but it's not for everybody. And different retreats have different focuses. So you want to make sure that you're attracting the right client avatar into your retreat, the ideal client that would love this retreat, who you built
Mhm.
this for. So I start about little year to a little ahead of a year in advance, and then to running the retreat. You can never
Okay,
allow yourself enough time. Firstly, like I said, you
absolutely.
need it to be available for you, and you've got to lock in the dates, and then you go about, you know, marketing, designing,
Absolutely.
marketing, promoting, and then, of course, the fun part of running the retreat. But the time from designing, when you're having your negotiations with the venues to, sign the contract to running the retreat, it's a long time. And you're not just sitting around, you are working on filling the retreat, designing the retreat, marketing it, and also designing this experience for the people. So it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like your timeline for at least a year because
Yeah.
it could be more. So now that we're talking, we're nearing the fourth quarter of 2024. So ideally,
Mhm.
planning a retreat for even what 2026 is not unheard of right now, right?
Not at all. You want to have your venues locked in so that you save that space.
Hmm. Yes. Okay, so we have the space locked in. We feel good about it. The environment's great, location. Um, what comes next? Are we doing the agenda? Are we building out the sales page? What is your
Yes.
typical process?
Then once you've got the contract signed, you've got the dates locked in, and if the venue matches up, then you got to design your retreat page, and really plan who is this retreat for and have
Hmm.
targeted towards that. Get beautiful pictures from the venue. The venue might send you some. You can always ask for their photos, and really design a page and really speak to the people you're building the retreat for, you know, what's included,
That's
what's not
key. Yeah.
included, the payment, when is the payment due, when it's not. And very important to have a cancellation policy on the retreat page. If there's a
Hmm.
cancellation policy, because you have to protect yourself. You're putting a lot of work and effort and funds into this. You want to make sure you're totally covered as a retreat leader.
Mm. Yeah. And I like what you said about, making it like who's it for?
Mhm.
Does that
Yeah.
person
Who's your
see
avatar?
themselves
Yeah.
in the retreat? Yeah, right. Now do you find when you put it out there, do you is the sales page enough? Do you feel like you have to answer some questions? Do people reach out and want more? Like how much clarification or, any adjustment is needed before people sign and they're like, yes, I want to do this.
So if you've designed a retreat page, detailed it well, written down what's included, what's not, also have a section at the end I would recommend with Q&A, questions that people
Hmm.
have, so then you don't have to keep answering it for everybody. All the information is on the page. And then if people still have questions, then always have a button on there to book an appointment with you,
Okay.
and
That's good
then
to
get on a call with them, and then you seeing if they're a good fit, just as they're seeing if this is a good fit for them.
know.
I call it a meet and greet. So you really see if it's a good fit. If it's a good match, then, and if they want to sign up or if they have hesitations or if they have questions, that's a great time to get all those clarifications in.
Yes, absolutely. Now, what is the percentage or I guess, what is the percentage of people that already know you or in your world as opposed to like brand new strangers that sign up? Is a lot of people that already know you that sign up?
A lot of them, yeah, they kind of know me or it's through referral. But since the pandemic, because the retreats, people were really needing us, and they still need these retreats. They're even more now than ever. So in fact, for my next retreats, they are pretty much new people. Yeah. So who've been following me for a while, or, have been getting my newsletters, or during the pandemic, I did a lot of, like I did virtual tea time. So people would come to get to know me, and where I was
Okay.
helping them, so when there was an opportunity to do something in person, then they've been coming. So it's been a mix. Initially, it was only people who knew me and their referrals, but now it's really a mix. And it all comes by designing good sales page. If you have a good sales page that really speaks to them, like sometimes I have people and they just sign up and I don't know them, and I'm like, hey God, I need to see you, and meet and greet you
Yeah.
to make sure it's a good fit, because I
Yeah. It's
all
kind
you
of it's kind of
huh?
good that people are reaching out, but then you're like, wait, I got to make sure the vibe is right. The vibe check,
Yeah,
right?
yes, because you're doing these long retreats. Like I'm
Yeah.
taking people internationally, so all you need is one problem child to ruin it for everybody, and it's not fair. So you really have to make sure that everybody coming, it's really a good fit. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay, so you made a good point about people being new, but they're not new to your world. And so,
Yes.
and and it
Hmm.
seems that retreats work well when you already have that established community. And from what people I talk to, they're like, yeah, retreats, I want to do a retreat. And I'm like, well, who are you promoting this to? Who are
Yes.
you? So would you recommend building and growing that community first
Yes.
before doing that retreat?
That's a very, very good point you hit upon, because it's like you need to have a community that know, like, trust you. Why is somebody going to come with you just because you're doing a retreat in a pretty place? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's a long way to go. It is costly. So they really need to know, like, trust you. You have to really build a community where you're nurturing them, nourishing them with what they're looking for, versus
right.
cold. I mean, I've seen people do it with less amount of time. I mean, few months and they launch a retreat, or they just go out cold and do it, but it's much harder that way.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think, and we are talking about retreats, but they're not the beginner event. That's not, if you've never done an event before, I personally wouldn't recommend, let's just start with a retreat. So it's one of
Yes.
those where,
Hmm.
it's more of that advanced level that you've been called, like you said, you had your tea times, you had different events leading up to
Yes. And
that
they
retreat.
were on my newsletter, so they'd hear from me.
Hmm.
And you really need that time. Retreats are pretty advanced because there's so many moving parts, as you know. There's the
Hmm.
logistics, there's the marketing, there's the venue, there's the negotiations, there's the contract, there's the legal part too. Like you need to have proper retreat insurance, you need to have your legalities in place. You cannot sell travel, so you need to be aware of all that before you go out and just say, I'm doing a retreat. Yeah.
So it's not just booking an Airbnb and calling it a retreat.
You
Okay.
have to be covered. You're running a business. You
Yes.
have to be covered and have the right insurance. Otherwise, yeah, that could open up a whole Pandora's box of problems.
Yeah, you make some really great points about, when you start to make sure you're covering your basis,
Mm-hmm.
and then, business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, so I mean, we touched a little bit about it, but do you have any like specific tips or anything about like, promoting the retreat, not just from the sales page, but I think you made a couple of things like the tea time, but is there one specific thing that just really helped you kind of get the word out?
The word out was, firstly, I sent my newsletter out,
Hmm.
so I do newsletters, also getting on social media, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, and even doing some lives, where you're talking about the experience and seeing if it resonates with people, or even educating people what it's about, where they
Yeah.
just feel, okay, either it's for them or it's not, or they're just like, I just have to come.
Yeah.
So you really want to, and it takes time to promote a retreat, so allow yourself enough time. Yeah, for sure. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I do want to invite anyone that's live listening if they had any specific questions logistically. And then I'll check on Facebook as well. But I wanted to kind of just change gears. And one reason I wanted to talk to you is because you're doing these retreats in these really great locations. Like you said, you didn't start just domestically or went to Florida. You went all out. So can you talk about some of the destinations of your retreats, and then do you have a favorite?
Favorite is hard because there's so many beautiful locations in the world, and Bali is definitely, I've done 3 retreats in Bali. Bali is one of my favorite ones. That was just something, before I'd been to Bali, it was like, I felt like I needed to go there and do a retreat there. And then I've done 6 different countries. So Costa Rica, Bali, India, Singapore. Our next one is in the Azores, and then, of course, in the US. I've done Santa Fe and also Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And okay. Are these all kind of tropical? Like, how's the weather? Do are they all within this like theme of exoticness or just rarity? Like, what is there a theme for your
Um,
locations?
I choose a place that has, I mean, firstly, it's a different culture. So there's I've done on beach kind of locations. I like desert too. So in India, we're going to go do a road trip into the Indian oasis. The
Mm. Oh,
oasis.
wow.
Yeah. Hmm. So
Okay.
I think it's where there's certain energy vortexes on the planet, and I get attracted to those, and they happen to be in exotic places too. So it really resonates, and it aligns with what my teachings are. I always want farm to table cuisine. So food is very important. So I want access to fresh vegetables and herbs that I can use in my creations.
Oh,
So
nice.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, and see, and you're quite a unique case because you are a chef. Now, are you involved in the food prepar? I mean, I imagine you're involved in the selection, but are you involved in the food preparation? Do you invite other chefs and partners to come in? How does that work with the food?
So I usually partner with the venues, and
Okay.
you always got to look at the food for the venue, because if the food's not good, it just ruins. I mean, for me, if the food is bad, it ruins the whole experience. And it is like
Mhm.
that for most people too. You
Sure.
know, food just takes it to a whole nother level. So I partner with the resorts, I work with them, with their staff on the menu. So we design the menu, which is based on a very healthy menu. And it's not just vegan or raw or plant-based. It depends on who's coming to the retreat, and catering to their requirements. Like some like fish, some vegan. So we have different options, so really catering to what we have, the group that's coming.
Hmm.
And I mean, I don't make the food, because I'm busy running the retreat. I'll do culinary demonstrations as one part of the retreat, and I may prepare a few things here and there, but generally we have the retreat center prepare it, and I've already designed the menu, where it's a healthy menu to suit our particular retreat. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're involved a lot, and I agree with you. Food is very important to any
Yeah.
event.
Hmm.
Um, I had a discussion earlier this week about just, being cognizant to any dietary issues. You want people to always have that sense of belonging and,
Yes.
making sure that food menu is inclusive for all. So,
Very inclusive.
um,
Yes.
yeah.
And also, if people have allergies, being very aware of that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, because for the sake of people learning, do you do you enclose that in the registration process? Do you
Mhm.
ask for that? Okay,
Yes, we have a lot of forms. We have them sign liability forms before they come on
sure.
the retreat. And then I always do like a questionnaire that I send out. So I really know their food preferences, any health issues, and just what they're looking for. So, that when they do come to the retreat, that it's exactly what they're looking for, because you need
Right.
to know the activity level. Like some people want to be very active, be moving every day. And, some of my peeps, they like to go and challenge themselves. Like in Bali, we went up hiking to an active volcano. While we have
Ooh.
sometimes some other people who are like, okay, I don't want to do that, rather be in the spa, and that's fine. So we design it around what people, really are looking for, and they can plug in and out of some of these activities too.
Oh, so you make a good point about not having to do everything or so there's some time for some, free time and some downtime, right? I think people
Very
get
important, very important.
stressed
This is a
out if
big mistake I see a lot of people doing. They're like, planning every hour, every minute.
Right.
And firstly, you have to go with the mindset that not everything is going to go to plan. Firstly, depending on which country you are, they all don't run exactly on time. You have to have some flexibility and some give. And sometimes, it might rain. You plan a hike, it's raining. So you have to be flexible and then do something else, It's
Yeah.
all the learning experience. Yeah.
So
And
it sounds like you have like, others that have done things and you're like, oh, I wouldn't have done it that way. Is there anything that you want to like put out there? I don't know if it's maybe a misconception or a mistake that people do, um, maybe a cautionary tale.
so what I was going to say also is allowing people enough time between
Mm,
different activities or whatever you're designing in the retreat. People need that time to process what you're teaching them. They want that downtime because it's too much of an overload if they're just going from one thing to the other. You need to give them that time to adjust and reflect and have that space.
okay.
So I
I,
often see a lot of people just overly scheduling the retreats or doing too much. And I'm like, I look at the schedule and I'm like, I'm tired already before I go on the retreat. And you don't want
yeah.
to do that. You want it to be a totally, I mean, my retreats are very transformational. So depending on what you're looking for, yeah, and just have your bases covered, do your research, and really have fun at the end of the day. Don't be stressed out by the time the retreat starts because you can't be your full self. You want to have, I think a big key is being organized.
Hmm.
Yeah, as you know from events, Tiffany, you do
Yeah.
lots of
I know.
events,
So, yeah. Yeah.
right? All the
Yeah.
little logistics of the food,
The
the
little things. Yeah.
little
Having a
things,
checklist and
your
yeah, and having
checklist and stuff and
having
having all
deadlines.
that. And if
Ab-
it's overwhelming, get somebody there to help you. Again, if you've got somebody coming in, make a very clear contract between them. If it's an assistant or a facilitator, or if you're bringing in another co-facilitator for the retreat, make it very clear, what
Yeah,
your responsibilities are. But really, trying to plan as much as you can, like being organized and having everything ready.
absolutely.
Another important thing is also, sometimes people are on certain medications, being fully aware of health conditions so that if something does happen, you have a file of all the medications and also having them carry it
Hmm.
carry enough, if they have some stopovers, which are a little longer, a flight gets canceled, carrying enough medications if they're on certain medications. And as a retreat leader, I've started carrying my own little emergency kit, like if people
Yeah.
fall, have cuts, or, and if you're going to a tropical place, mosquito bites,
Yeah. Yeah.
other
That emergency kit that all like prevent.
kit. And one problem I had once with somebody come to our retreats is make sure if you're going on an international retreat that your passport is valid for at least 6 months
6 months.
past the last travel date. I had one person she was coming to Bali all the way from Chicago, and in Chicago O'Hare, they did not stop her. But when she got to Singapore, they said, hang on, you cannot travel. Your passport is expiring. So she was lucky that in Singapore, she was able to expedite at the US Embassy there and get a
Wow.
passport within a day. But she lost out on one day of the retreat. So you never want that to happen.
Absolutely. And that's being very lucky that she was in a place
She
to
was
do.
very lucky that she got it because, passports, especially during the
Sure.
pandemic, it took us like forever to get passports and,
Sure.
the right visas. And also, before you go on a retreat, having a call with everybody so they know what to expect and, uh, how you're receiving them, if you're arranging transport, if you're not, going through all
Hmm.
the logistics. Yeah.
Absolutely. I wouldn't even have thought about that. Yes, absolutely. The passport.
Passport,
Okay, so
visas, yes, because some
yeah,
places get
and
it upon
visas, right?
arrival. Some,
Yeah,
like in India, you have to apply before, it's an e-visa. So and some places flat out need you to have a visa. So knowing these regulations before they travel and letting your peeps know who have already signed up for your retreat that, okay, this, making it as easy as possible for them.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I know we're wrapping up and I wanted to make sure if we have any questions, I want to leave just a little bit of time, but I wanted to um I wanted to ask real quick because you have retreats as a business and then you run your business. So can we just talk a little bit about is it a revenue stream for you, or do you see it as it leads into other programs you have? I think some people, either want to retreat and they just are trading the registration for dollars, or they're looking to retreats as to really cultivate their business. So, can you
Mhm.
give us an idea on is it, you know, is it a revenue generator for you? Do you feel like it makes
Yes,
sense
definitely do
financially?
not lose money on a retreat because it is so much work. I mean, I would say minimum 100 hours of work to
Mm-hmm.
together a retreat, not to mention run it. So you want to make sure that you have your costs covered, write down all your costs, the time involved in planning, running a retreat. So for me, yes, retreats is a big part of my business,
Okay.
but from the retreats, I also have programs that people can join because you have the transformation, but then you want to take these changes into your lifestyle, so you don't go back home and you go back to same, because
Right.
you're back to the same habits and the same things. So we often have from retreats, they come for either private coaching or they come for our group
Okay.
programs to really continue the transformation, you know? Yeah.
Okay.
So it can lead towards a retreat, like you can have programs leading to a retreat, or you can also, the other way is from retreats, it leads to more business for you with programs that follow from there. So you're really taking care of your people and they get the transformation they need.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good to know. So it could be either or, so people can
Mhm.
kind of really see how it fits in for their business. But you make a good point to not lose money. This is not a break even situation because there's so much involved. This is not
Yep, you
a
have to pay
small
the
event.
venues, and
Yeah.
depending on the venues, they can charge quite a bit for the funds up front.
Yeah.
So yeah, you definitely don't want to lose money. You have to write down all your costs, and that's what a lot of people say. Oh, I think I'll just. How does that sound? Should I just? You cannot just pick a number from your head. You have to
Yeah.
literally, write all the costs down and really price it properly because it is a lot of work to run a retreat and different
Yeah.
levels of complexities. So yeah.
It's so funny. It's fun, but it's a lot of work.
Yes, it's definitely worth it, but
Yeah,
it's just, it's going in with your eyes open, making sure
sure.
you're pricing it so you're not losing money. Because after doing all that work, I'd hate for any of you to lose money on it, because that's just not fair to you, you know?
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
Well, before I let you go, do you mind just talking or touching base on your upcoming retreats? When
Sure.
are they? Is there still availability? Um, and yeah. And
Yes.
I will, for those who, if people are joining after and watching a replay, we'll make sure to have those links that people can just go ahead and click on. But yeah, what do you have coming up?
So I have two retreats coming up, one in 2024, which is a retreat to the Azores. It's in October from the 20th to 26th. We do have a few spots left if you're interested. Definitely take a look at the retreat page that Tiffany's going to post, and then reach out, send me an email and let me know. And then my next retreat after the Azores. Azores is actually we're going to the biggest island, Saint Miguel in the Azores, which is part of Portugal. So the Azores is the best kept secret of Portugal because Portugal has become like this hot destination.
Yeah,
But the Azores, I don't like going to crowded places. I like going to places before it becomes trendy. So
yeah,
Azores is going to become quite, so it's a beautiful venue, and just the Azores is just absolutely breathtakingly gorgeous, and it really aligns with our retreat concept. And then in 2025, my first retreat for 2025 is going to be in India. So it's going to be 14 days, and we're going to arrive in New Delhi, and then we're going to do a road trip into Rajasthan, to the oasis in the desert. We're going to visit like 5 dreamy venues, and it's just my heritage is Indian, so I grew up from India. So you're going to get an insider's edge into India, and it's a really once in a lifetime adventure that I've designed for India. So both very different.
yeah.
The Azores is closer, and then India's further away. That's why I have it for 2 weeks. The Azores one is 1 week long. And I think if you all are interested in wanting to do retreats, for me, the best way to learn was literally attend a retreat. You know, when you attend a retreat, you see how it's run, you know, and what you're trying to create, it helps, you know, your learning is exponential.
Yeah, you make a good point. So, and especially learning from somebody who has been doing it like you know, who didn't just start yesterday,
Mhm.
that has this process. I mean, you brought up a lot of different things that I don't think people are looking at, making sure, you know, legal things are making sure that you have, you know, the right paperwork and things like
Mhm.
that. So that's really a good point to just attend. That's the easiest step, right? To start.
Yes, start as being immersed in a retreat, then you really feel, okay, is this something I want to get into? And you learn so many things that is very hard to teach before. But when you're there, you're like, oh my gosh, you learn so much. And you realize what you want to do in terms of your vision for creating a retreat.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
best way to learn. Come into it.
yes.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, thank you. This has been such a great conversation. And again, I appreciate you just coming on and being so, um, you know, agreeing into this new live interview I have. Unless we have any questions, I mean, feel free if someone who's listening wants to get a question answered. But other than that, I think this was such a great conversation. I will make sure that I have the your retreat information. And then are they able to at least join your mailing list so they can learn more about any upcoming
Mhm.
events that you have coming up?
Maybe pop in my email so then they can, if they want to get onto my email list, that way they get to know about upcoming events. And then we have a gift for everybody who's tuned in or watching the replay, right? And Tiffany, you're
Mm-hmm.
we have a special mocktails ebook, my recipes, so which you can enjoy in the summer and during the holidays. It's and you can make mocktails into cocktails, but these are healthy mocktails, which are really delicious and fun to enjoy with your family and friends.
I love that. And I peeked at some of your mocktails. They're
Hmm.
not like juice and seltzer. They're really, you know, really great mocktails. I mean, I really enjoy having a nice drink that doesn't feel like it's just juice, you
And
know,
not too much sugar. You know, you want it really
right.
flavorful, because when it's flavorful, meaning, you know, balance for the different senses, you know, salty,
Hmm.
sour, bitter, sweet, or spicy, you know, it really makes a big difference.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you, Sunita. I appreciate your time this afternoon, and I'll be sure to upload the replay. I don't know if you want to do it in your channels as well, but I really think the conversation is, especially for those who weren't able to join us live, but still registered, so they'll be able to still get the information as well as your special gift. So thank you again, and I wish you all the luck in these
Thank you
retreats.
so much. Thank you so much for having me, Tiffany. And thank you to everyone who's joined us here and watching the replay. It's been a
Sounds
pleasure.
good.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.